operating system is on the Azure network.
It's not Windows.
Nope.
Linux.
Yeah. Most of the Microsoft owned devices on Azure are actually running Linux. Better processing.
That's not a good look, Windows. Do you need to send
I
it?
mean, Windows is mostly probably about consumer side of
Yeah, and there's several things that
zoom
make
in?
it better, especially its memory management.
There we go. Perfect.
Linux has a concept called reentrant memory. So if you open up, we'll go with Chrome, and you go to a website, and you open up another tab in Chrome, if you look on Windows, you'll actually see like another running process for each tab.
Mm-hmm.
Now Windows has gotten a little bit better about that, but that's more of the programming for Windows, not on how Windows handles memory. But on Linux, it will take and pull up the source code and just run that, and then when you start up a new session of that, it just adds a pointer to show where you're at in memory.
Okay.
And then the only additional information you have is the application-based information that's being stored in memory.
So the simplest way to think of it is, rather than using a rerunning the code and having 5 different instances of it, it uses a common startup code, and then it only has services that are different for each unique instance.
So you're saying like the way that Chrome opens a new tab, or the way that Windows thinks about a new tab in Chrome is, it's like, oh, here's a whole new instance of Chrome opening
Exactly.
from the very start, and Linux approaches it like, oh, well, I've already got Chrome running, so I'm just going to jump ahead to where I already was and start a new branch from there.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Interesting.
So that's why Linux.
So you have like a lot of tabs open in Windows. It's going to bog you down.
Oh,
but
yeah,
Linux,
it'll
not
destroy-
as much.
it'll destroy you.
Chrome.
It's all browsers.
Chrome can be bad about it because Chrome itself uses a lot of memory for even one tab. So you notice it a lot more with Chrome than say you would like Firefox, and even Firefox is getting there today. But if you had like 5 instances of say Chromium, I think is what it is, which is the open source version of Chrome, it's going to be a lot lower weight than say Chrome, because Chrome has all this extra stuff that boots up with it. You'll notice it a lot more, and that's when it makes a bigger difference when you have an OS that handles it better.
I think it's because they try to preload things that you usually visit so that it loads faster.
Not only that, but a lot of add-on stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of extra, the thing with convenience and features, it does bog down your computer.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool extensions for Chrome, but those. So you're saying, but there's also like extensions that Chrome adds without you asking for them.
Yeah, built-in ones.
They run in the background.
Yeah.
Bloatware is what we call it. Yep. So that's the the reason why we tend to use Linux for most of our development. It's just more efficient in the long run. And
It's more bare bones.
Yeah, it's more bare bones.
Just what you want.
Exactly.
Okay.
You can customize it for the work that you're doing. Where Windows, it just pre-packages everything and tries to make it to the most
It's like 80% of people want a lot of this stuff on here, so we're just gonna throw it all on here. And
Yeah.
Or Google will also track your information.
Oh yeah.
See what you go to. So every time you load it up, they'll load up Pornhub for you, so that way it loads faster when you go there.
Right.
How did they know?
How do they know? Yeah, right.
How nice of them.
Even when you're using incognito, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got sued big time for that.
Oh.
Wow. Yeah, because they were just tracking your IP.
Am I due a class action check? Or
Yeah. They know.
Here's your quarter.
Someone got rich off of this.
Some lawyer.
Yeah.
Lawyer's getting ready to retire, 40 years old, he's getting old. So
Yeah, that Pornhub lawsuit.
Want to see some code I wrote?
Yeah. So what is this doing?
It's supposed to be doing an API pull, but it's not done yet. This is something
Is this
I
for
started-
work?
Yeah, this was a work thing I did. I can show you this, but you're not allowed to mess with it. We talked about this. We got permission to kind of show you. His is much more developed than mine. This is like the just getting started. I'm establishing like variables, and I'm putting in a basic if statement to give me some options. But his actually goes as far as to request the data, pulls it, creates a file, pulls it into the file, and saves the file. That's it, basic. I
Like
don't
an
think it does.
XLSX file?
That's the basic
Yeah.
of what it does. It does it through CSV, which opens through Excel.
Yeah.
But it's just text based.
Yeah. So this is like what your code will start to look like. Here are.
What's the difference between XLSX and CSV as a file? Comma delimited? Is that what it...
Yeah. So there's a comma delimiter on CSV. Now you can use other delimiters like tabs. You can use semicolons, and most of the time it'll be able to figure out what you're wanting to do.
And just make sure everyone knows what a delimiter is, because I didn't. It's the part that separates your data points.
Yeah, I was only vaguely aware of that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So it's what you're using to mark the start and end of your data points. So Bob, Jane, and Mary are all going to be separated by commas to say that Bob, Mary, and Jane aren't just one name, one data set. They're all three different data sets. And so when when Excel takes that information, it'll look for all the commas that are in there, and it'll put every time there's a comma, it'll break that off into its own cell. Its own cell, either row or height.
Yeah, and that's with CSVs.
Yes.
So it is commas separate out your columns, and then new lines make a new row.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah,
And then, so that's CSV, and then how does XLSX do it?
it's a binary file.
Okay.
So
okay.
it writes it to a proprietary format.
I see.
Yep. So it just knows how to read CSVs and convert them over when you convert. Because Microsoft Excel can, not just Excel, I think probably Google's Excel Sheets, that's what they call it. Google Sheets. They can convert it over, like it can read the CSV, and when you tell it to save it as an XLS file, an Excel workbook file, it will just know how to convert that data over automatically for you.
Okay.
Assuming that it was in the correct format in the first place in the CSV.
Yeah.
If it was wrong in the CSV, it's going to be wrong in the XLS
Fair
as well.
Yeah, and with the way that I'm handling it, I'm actually building out lines of text and writing that to a file, and then it will read that as if it is a CSV, because it's just the same format. With that file, but there's other ways you can handle it, including something called pandas. But that goes in pretty deep into what it can do, including graphic visualization.
Nice.
I will say these are kind of some one-off topics. We kind of my goal for this was to kind of get to a foundation knowledge for you guys, so like the Linux and such, and the conversations about the Linux kernels or OS kernels and GNUs. These are really good things. The Excel, how file formats work, are gonna come into play as we get more into the Python stuff, because our first goal is with Python is we're going to write a program, as what we should do here, and we're going to start simple. We're going to start with information that you put in, that you want to push out. But eventually we're going to get you guys to the point where you are going to not put the data in, you're going to tell it where to find the data, and then print that out.
Okay, cool.
And that's what we call an API pool.
All right, teacher, get us back on track.
So yeah, I think the best step here will go into David's presentation here, just because we could talk all day about a bunch of nuances.
Sorry, that's
and fill in some gaps for you. No, these are good conversations, and these are going to come up because as we get to the part when we start downloading the data and converting it into formats, that very conversation is going to come into play.
Cool.
Because we're going to have to talk, because most times when you're downloading from an API, it's going to be in a XML or JSON format or something like that, and you're going to have to find a way to convert that.
Yeah.
So.
We'll actually cover JSON XML has a couple different things you can use to get that converted over. But first thing is I wanted everyone here to go ahead and let me know what their current experience level is and what kind of goals you have career-wise, if you know what they are.
So current experience with coding?
Tech.
Yeah, tech in general.
Now, where does your knowledge?
Andrew, you want to start?
You got volunteered.
Sure.
You get to start.
Voluntold.
Voluntold.
Yeah.
Experience is nothing special. I know how to turn it off and on.
Have you done anything in like your hobbies? Like, did you ever get into gaming? Did you ever video editing? Anything that of a hobby of yours that involved computers?
I mean, I play games, but that's about the end of it.
Oh, I say that because even playing games, you have to do troubleshooting on your PC with PC gaming because errors come up. You know, updating drivers. You know, that's still basic technology that is beyond a normal user. You know, when I think of a normal user, I think of somebody who knows how to access the internet, check their email, and maybe use applications on their phone. So that to me is the basic computer user. Anything above that, you're actually steps ahead because you had to learn some troubleshooting steps to do PC gaming or anything on a computer, especially if you do it for your work. So
I didn't really do a lot of troubleshooting on my own. I just Googled to see what everybody else did, and
That's,
they weren't.
that is
That is-
troubleshooting.
That counts.
Oh, okay.
that is the world
That's how it
of
works. Right?
tech. So
Google is good.
So here's the thing: when you're in an interview, you don't want to Google anything when you're in an interview. You know, like you want to make sure things are coming off the top of your head for an interview. When you're on the job, everything is going to be coming from Google. Not everything, but a lot of the information is already out there on the web.
Eric and I
for
were
you.
just talking about this. We are constantly Googling Excel tips and shortcuts and
Yep.
formulas and functions because no one, I mean, maybe some talented humans, but most people don't remember all the functions and formulas and the tips. 'cause
Like even ones that I use regularly, I don't.
The
remember
well
what
is
they are most
deep.
of the time.
So-
But you're not, that's the thing. You're not going to memorize a lot of nuanced coding. You're going to remember certain functions because the functions you use them across all languages, and actually the logic makes sense. Like if-else statements, you use that in Excel. That's used in programming the same way. So a lot of that translates. The syntax, that will come with a little bit of time. But at the end of the day, once you've learned one language, a lot of it converts over. A lot of the logic.
And Python is written to appear like natural language.
Oh, nice.
So if you're looking at it, you should be able to read it.
Kind of figure it out a little bit.
Right. All right, career goals though.
Haven't planned that far.
Cool. Next.
Yeah. So currently I work at formerly Truman Medical Center, but it's University Health now. I'm a manager of an OB ultrasound clinic, so not really anything technical, but I also kind of became the default data guy for my division. So with that, I get to play around in a lot of spreadsheets. Some SQL adjacent programs that you're kind of just doing the SQL stuff on the back end for you, but you're kind of seeing the logic in where you're playing with it, the HPM, HPI.
He still has to make Boolean arguments from the GUI
Right,
interface.
exactly, yeah. And I'm kind of starting to learn SQL now because I'm doing the Google Data Analytics program because I've discovered that I really don't love being a manager, and I kind of want to switch tracks in my career now in my mid-30s. So, thus this, and I don't know. I think I'm I don't want to say advanced. I'm certainly not advanced. I think I'm in like an intermediate Windows personal computer user. I don't know any code really. But,
Have you done much troubleshooting in your time with
Sure.
with your PC?
Plenty of troubleshooting. I would say nothing too advanced, but
Okay.
yeah, I can do a Google search and kind of figure out some stuff. I'm gonna try to I feel reasonably confident I can figure out how to load at least the beginning portions of loading Linux on here.
Sure. Okay.
I don't know if I can connect to the internet, but we'll find out. So.
Well, so if your Google Food's good, you should be able to figure it out. 'Cause that's how we all learned it. Is at one point when I won't lie to you. I took a Linux course in college, and my father grew up playing with Mandrake all the time, which was an old version of Linux. He also had a copy of Red Hat that no longer was getting support, but still had the install files available. He got that from his work, and so I have a lot of history with Linux, so I understand concepts of it, but a lot of nuance has been lost to me because I haven't touched Linux in about 5 years now. The last time I booted up Linux was when I was doing the dual boot between Linux and Windows I was telling you about earlier, where I learned that you had to install Linux first. So, but yeah, but you guys know me. I know you haven't met me, but my experience, I've been in tech all my life. Like I was telling, my father kind of got me into it at a young age. Officially in a professional setting, what is it, 9 months now? Something like that. I've been in cybersecurity, but for years, I've taken courses. I completed a full CCNA course, which was a Cisco Certified Network Associate. So I got, I was certified on configuring these equipment here. I did that. That's how I met David here, actually. We took that course together. I just stayed at my current role, though, and I didn't do anything with tech, but I always had an interest in it. My career goal is just to continue to learn more because I'm pretty happy where I am right now.
I'll just say I've learned a lot from Josh.
Yeah.
Stuff. Tech stuff.
I tell you, it's all been Google foo.
It's all started from when we were both like 10 years old and playing Legend of Zelda, and I would call Josh on the phone to ask for tips when I got stuck.
It was always that water temple. Got everybody.
We don't talk about the water temple.
So,
I hate the water temple. So I also work at University Health Fair. Part of my job is already data analysis, which is not less in not analyzing and more just running reports and organizing the data. I don't really necessarily analyze it per se, but
I think it counts.
the vast majority of my job is Excel spreadsheets.
You build schedule templates, right? That's a big part of it.
Some of it is stuff that I inherited from Josh that I've had to go in and make
Evolve.
adjustments to. I don't know if that was something that you made or if that already existed and then something that you adjusted as you
it depends.
A lot of it is just trying to figure out what I want Excel to do and then figuring out how to do it. So there's a lot of playing around with it, looking stuff up on Google.
If I remember correctly, a lot of the issues is, and this is a problem that you guys will have in the real world too, is you might find that the data source that you're getting the information from may not have the data points you want already pulled out.
Exactly.
And you're going to have to kind of find ways to get it in a format where you can pull out those
That's
data
why we're
points.
in SQL.
Usually,
So I can just get it.
at least with Cerner and HBI, we'll have the data that you want plus a lot of extra stuff that you don't want, so it's filtering that out.
Sure.
Reorganizing the data in a way that the person that wants said report is usable for them. So it's just a lot of filtering out and figuring out what is actually pertinent to what they need. And
Career goal?
I would like to stay with data analysis preferably. I do actually enjoy that portion of my job. I don't really enjoy the schedule coordinating portion of my job. That is extremely tedious and I hate it.
Is it because you just like the more technical perspective of it, or?
Yeah, and I like the organizing the data and like.
You don't enjoy arguing with doctors about what their schedules should be.
Or that, and it's just opening schedules and like keeping track of all the schedules.
It's a lot of busy work.
It's really mind-numbingly tedious.
Yeah, I get that.
Which that's going to be avoidable in a lot of stuff, but I do like gathering the data and like reorganizing the data and like searching for it and giving myself parameters and dicking around in Excel and like learning new things with it, only to forget about it and relearn it again later.
That's right. That is exactly what I do. From a day-to-day basis, is I am figuring out how to take information from one format and translate it to a different format. You know, like difference is I'm doing it using PowerShell and Python.
That's kind of, which I'm also planning on starting that
Yeah.
course that Jeff is doing.
I'll give you all the answers.
Work has just sucked all of my energy out lately, so learning new things has not the most ideal.
I will say, honestly, Eric, starting that has given me more energy because I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Like, work is just sucking the life out of me a lot of the time, but learning something new and doing something kind of with an eye towards the future is very invigorating. It's like, and even at work, I feel a little bit more engaged lately. So I don't know if it's necessarily because of that or directly because of it, but I think it's just related.
There's been times where I've been working on schedules and someone will ask for a report. I'm like, okay, I'll stop doing this and work on this report instead. Cause
I tend to do that.
I don't want to mess with the schedule. Let me just do this report.
David, I think we sort of know what you do, and I kind of interviewed Josh about your guys' business model a little bit, actually.
Well, so I'll tell you this. I told you my job.
Yeah.
David does a different thing than I do.
Yeah, I'm really curious to hear.
Yeah, so I'm a senior analyst. I'm probably going to switch over to engineering, which there's a little bit of difference in. There can be a lot of gray areas in tech titles.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty much what it means is instead of being constantly talking to customers and telling them about their information and what they should do, I'm going to be fixing their problems and writing new scripts to be able to enable everyone's job to be easier. But here's a little bit of information about me. See that I have over 5 years of experience in cybersecurity, including networking and vulnerability management. And I've been in tech for over a decade now. One period of time, I got bored while working on a service desk, so I taught myself PowerShell. And now PowerShell's kind of hit a limit on what it can do, so I'm working on learning Python. And this is a relearning. I did learn it on version 2. I should use version 3. It's got a lot more features, and it's turning into the standard that everybody's using.
Yeah, Python is definitely on the rise as one of the most popular programming languages out there, just because of how versatile it is.
Just from what I'm hearing, it seems like the most ubiquitous.
Yeah, it is going to be. Back in the day, you think it used to be, God forbid, JavaScript or Java.
Yeah, that's the one I played with years ago. HTML formatting.
Yeah, and that's
Java.
fine. But honestly, you don't have to know HTML anymore because the tools that they have, you just don't need them as much anymore.
But we're on HTML5 now anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like this was early HTML.
Sure, this was like back of Neopets days and
MySpace.
GeoCities HTML.
I started dicking around with it during MySpace days because I was formatting my own MySpace page.
I think everybody got into it for that reason.
Yeah, which required you to fill out a bunch of HTML shit on like different sections to create what you wanted.
Yeah, if you wanted to like have a new background, you had to plug in this HTML that brought up the background in your MySpace. Yeah, I remember that. Same thing. It started with Zynga.
Yeah, that's where I had first gotten into it.
Yeah, because Zynga, like you could, you could have the entire board just HTML, and it'd be like your own web page. Like it would be your own Zynga web page. It was so cool.
Could embed music videos from YouTube and stuff on there too.
I never did videos. I just did music.
I never embedded videos. I embedded music.
Yeah, that's what I did. But yeah, so there's obviously a lot you can do, but Python as it is today is going to be your most versatile and most widely used language. Now, there's a lot of languages that do get used regularly for different reasons, for specialized things, but if you're getting into it, Python is the best one really to start with. Also because it's one of the easiest ones to read, as David was mentioning.
Yeah, and there's so many people using it that there's a lot of information out on Google.
Yep.
So we're going to start by looking over a project. So if everybody wants to open idle.
Idle?
Idle, yeah. When you install Python, I don't know about yours.
This has elements, consoles, sources,
Yeah,
network,
search.
performance, memory,
IDE
application,
oil?
security, and lighthouse.
Okay,
Or
so
IDE,
we'll do
or
console.
IDLE. Idle. There we go. IDLE.
What was that?
IDLE.
Yeah.
Okay.
IYIDOL.
That will just hit the start button and then type in idle.
Oh.
IDLE.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't IDOL.
Like
Like
idols.
from the Bible. False.
No false idols.
Alright, so that should bring up a console as well as a, you should be able to go to like file new on there and it'll open up a page for you to actually do some coding.
Is that what we want to do? File a
Yep.
new file?
And there you go.
I want to keep this console open.
You get one?
I think that's right. Is that what it should look like?
Yeah.
Hopefully that's what. Did you open up the new file?
I don't know how.
I don't know.
Yeah, you new file. Take this over.
Well, but this is a Chrome extension, so I don't know if it.
Oh, yeah,
program.
his may be different.
We'll find out. We'll see if the code runs.
It's okay.
I don't
Does
use
it have
this.
just a simple text editor?
Yeah, he has a space to type.
Okay.
It's just he's doing it through the Chrome browser, so I think it popped open a new tab instead of a new file.
Oh, okay. Alright, so this is going to be the first project that we'll work on. We'll work on it together. So the first thing we'll do is we'll start with a statement and a data type. A statement is simply something that has the correct syntax in order to run. There's like a very structured definition up there, but that's all we're doing is we're using correct syntax to cause the computer to do what we want it to.
And just so we can cover terminology for those who don't know what syntax is. These are like the command structure or the language structure. So, Spanish and English have the same kind of structure, but the words they actually use are different. So the syntax is different. So the same way, like the syntax of one language is just different wording from like another language, or the structure of it too sometimes.
Yeah. It can also be referred to down to the point of grammar.
Mm-hmm.
So syntax for Python 2 versus Python 3, they're mostly the same, but there's going to be a little bit of difference. So it would be the difference between like U.S. English and UK English.
There you go. That's a good way. That's a real good analogy there.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is a string. A string is just words. Anything you can put inside of quotes can be a string. So you can use alphanumeric characters, special characters, anything, but it's just treated as words. The first command that you can type in, the first statement is going to be print. So you can type in the console, not the file, the word print, and then we put in open parentheses, and then quote, and we're going to put in hello world, end quote, close parentheses.
Capitalization does matter, FYI.
It does, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so all of your commands that you're using are going to be in lowercase.
The commands. So
Yeah.
print is a command, and
Is this really similar to like Windows console commands?
It's a similar idea. It's more robust. But for Windows, you type in echo. Here we're typing in print. So those features are pretty much exactly the same.
Just different verbiage.
So everyone ran Hello World.
how do we run it? Hit enter?
Yeah, if you're typing it in the consonants code.
And there you go, see it printed.
If you type it into the file, there should be an option to run it.
Okay.
So
But
you're
before she just save.
Yeah, I don't know.
the play button here. Show console sideboard, that's what you want. User message. Click on that.
Just both hands. It'll work faster.
I'm getting there.
Double click on it. Right click on it.
We're an hour into the presentation. And on slide 4 of 23.
Okay.
Well, that's why I was trying to. Yeah, that's why.
I'll order dinner now.
Can only stay until 3 at Eastern plans tonight.
So you only got like 30 more minutes.
Yeah.
Eric, do you want to should we just work on this one together, Eric?
Well, no, this is part of it. We gotta.
And then I'll take this to
Think
Shiba
that
home and
this
figure out a
would
little something.
work in a similar fashion to regular Python.
Regular Python doesn't have any.
Get it to run.
I think so. I don't think I broke it.
So if it just shows up
think
the
I
blue
broke it.
text below, that means it ran.
Okay, yeah, so you have that in a file, so just hit run module, tell it okay. And there you go, hello world.
Hey, I did it.
Look at that, you've written your first program.
Come here, David.
Yep.
See if you can figure out this different style of Python console. He's in the console right now. I just can't figure out how to get the file readout to pop open.
That's interesting.
Right? I will pause the recording while we troubleshoot. Alright.
Alright, so our next slide, this slide here, we're going to talk about variables. Variables are just going to hold information for you. So when we're talking about information within an object-oriented programming, we're talking about objects. Objects have different ways that you can work with them. And you're going to store those to variables. That way you use the variables in order to work with the objects that you have stored.
So the way I've always imagined it is a variable is like a single word shortcut. It doesn't even have to be a single word, but like whatever your title is, it can be a shortcut to whatever your phrase, your program or your code or whatever it is. You know, you could have a variable that says every time I say hello, it actually, when I type in hello as the variable, it'll print out an entire paragraph of a greeting that I've rewritten out. I could do that, or it could do an entire line of code that I've already pre-written out. It can be all stored in a single variable keyword.
And here are some restrictions that I've listed on your variables. One of the biggest things to keep in mind is that you can't start with a number. You use a number somewhere else, and you can't use any special characters. What I like to use is something called camel case. So the first word in your variable is lowercase, and every word after that, the first letter is capital.
Camel case. Oh, so humps. Nice.
Yeah, and it makes it easier to read if you have something as descriptive as we have here, which is world greeting screen. wanna just type in world greetings string equals, and then type in hello
Wait,
world with
type
some
in-
bad capitalization inside of quotes.
I can't really read it.
Oh, okay. Oh, so we're not even gonna say print yet. Just type world lowercase. Is it all one word? World greetings string? Okay.
Yeah.
And then capital G for greeting. Okay, greeting. String. So capital S. And then is it an equals after? Sorry, my eyesight is not.
Yeah, it's space
Yeah, mine's
equals
not, and this is
space.
an awkward angle.
Space equals
Space.
Yep. quote.
Next time we'll have a projector.
Yes.
Open quote. Hello world. 2 words.
Mess up the capitalization on a little bit.
A little bit.
You can get a lot of it, just don't get it right. On the variable name, you want to get it right.
Close quote.
Okay.
Then we hit enter.
Yeah, you hit enter, and that will store it. The next line you're going to do print, and inside the parentheses you're going to, without quotes, put in hello world string.
Does it need to be capitalized the same way, or?
Capitalize it the same way, yes.
Oh, wow. Now you've really done it.
Yep. I done did it.
Tab completion generally works.
What does that mean? Oh, if you hit tab, it will complete it the same way that you kind of stored it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Was that so? When while he was typing that, like a pre-fill box kind of showed up. That's where you hit tab and it'll fill. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then. Okay, so in parentheses, it
Yeah. So
should it say
here you'll
world greeting
put
string, or should it say?
yeah. So you'll do print and then the hello world string. So print your variable.
Okay.
That's all you were getting there.
So I think.
Assume it's because I intentionally screwed up the spelling, but let's write it again and still
The first
errors.
section here is the variable.
Looks like it's highlighting something with the first line.
So
Well, it's syntax.
this
damn it.
equals that.
Does the orange mention
One
that's
of them is
just
a
with that
variable
line or
that
something
means
that's
that-
hard?
It's that line.
Okay.
Don't forget about capitalization.
So I think what is supposed to. Well, we're not sure what's supposed to be released this year. If it's supposed to be released or that.
So parentheses is where you're calling your variable. So what you've done here is you've named your variable world greeting string. That's the name of your variable. It's whatever you want it to be. That's the word you're going to use to bring it in. And you've established the variable is going to be equal to this phrase. So to call that variable, you have to type in the variable name.
Which is world reading.
That's right.
So
And it's going to
And
print
we-
whatever that variable is set equal to.
Like that.
So like that equal to this could be a quote,
You didn't
a phrase,
type in
it could be
these.
code, it could be
Here,
anything
did
you want there, except for the restrictions.
Oh,
I
you did.
I did.
a little bit.
Okay, yeah, so that is just to show that we're actually typing it.
Oh.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do a variable like
So
this
now
unless
if we
you
go
would if you were doing
run
like a
module.
large program where you were making a lot of
Let's see.
names
Hello
that
world
were
over there.
kind of similar in their naming conventions.
So if I start typing this. Yeah.
There it is, because it saved it as a variable, so it knows to call it when you start to type it out. Now you hit enter, and it should print out.
Perfect. In the same capitalization that you fucked it up in.
Yep,
exactly.
You told me to fuck it up.
We did.
You did it. Yeah, and we did want it screwed up because our next thing we're going to do is use methods to change the capitalization.
Okay.
So this is something that we can do with a string object, which here hello world string is a string object. So this just shows different ways that we can utilize that. The first one we can do is on hello world. We're going to print hello world string dot upper open parentheses, close parentheses to tell it that we're trying to call an actual method.
So, okay.
So type print. Open quote or open parenthesis. And then just hit tab. And then hit it's gonna make
And then hit enter.
Yeah, and that will make all of the letters uppercase. We also have lower, which will make all of that lowercase. And then there's title, which will put the first letter in each word as capital. Got it to work?
Yep, no errors this time.
Alright. See, already getting easier. That's good?
Yep.
Alright, so next thing we're going to talk about is concatenation. There's two different ways to do concatenation. This is the older way that I have here, which all you're going to do is put space plus space and then whatever else you want to add on to it. So in this case we said hello world with the title capitalization, and we put space plus space, quote, exclamation point, space, oh, it's just you, Brian.
Is it?
Oh,
I can't see.
you put dot title before you put the or two.
No, it's just one.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right.
And then,
Oh, it's just you, Brian.
is that an exclamation point after the quotations?
It is, yes. And if you don't put in the exclamation point space, or you don't put in the space at the beginning there, it's going to just smash them right up next to each other.
Perfect. Got it. Josh, you need any help?
I think I'm hitting it.
Okay.
Okay.
I got a couple errors, but that's because I keep forgetting to not capitalize print because I can't help it. I have to capitalize the first letter of my sentences, and it drives me nuts.
I even do that on my instant messenger at work.
Yeah. Capitalize your first letters. Yeah, I get it.
And it drives me nuts when I do it.
So now we're going to talk about the second version of concatenation, which I don't have anything up here for. That's going to be an F string. So here we'll put in print, and inside the parentheses we're going to do the letter F, quote, curly bracket,
Open or close?
open. And then we're going to type in our variable.
World.
Greeting string.
Yep.
And then we'll type in close curly bracket. And then you'll put, after the close curly bracket, exclamation point, space, oh, it's just you, Brian. End quote.
Wait, go back. After the variable,
Yeah, so once I finished, I'm sorry, I tried to tab the variable in, but it didn't work, so.
Yeah, with using the F strings, it might not.
Okay, so when I finish typing it, what do I do?
So we'll do the close curly brace. And then you put in exclamation point, space, oh, it's just you, Brian, end quote.
the other way is easier to remember.
It is easier to remember, but if you are putting a lot of stuff together, it'll actually use up more CPU cycles to use the old version of concatenation. So the version 3 standard is to use F strings. Is everybody getting it to work?
Yep.
You're not. All right, let's take a look real quick.
This one was a little tricky.
Looks like I'm doing something wrong with the print up.
I think when
so-
you're thinking of it in your head, the
Okay,
other way
so
is
it
easier
is
to kind of keep track of because it's more
print
intuitive.
at-
It fits
Yeah, so
we
what
know
we want.
language and math.
So we have
Just adds
Then
in together.
at-
Whereas with this one, it just
Yeah.
it allows you to just kind of dump a lot of stuff in there together without it tearing up a lot of unneeded resources.
okay, yeah. So and then we're going to close print. So print, we're still putting everything in parentheses, but here we're putting everything in quotes and putting curly brackets around our variables.
Can you
So
imagine
use
why
multiple-
print is the first thing
Multiple
every kid
variables
uses?
here, and then we're putting an F in here so that it knows to interpret it that way.
So you use a printer?
So print is displaying information in your console or wherever your output is.
So then you get that.
So
That's
you,
Makes sense?
You get a response.
All right.
yeah, because without print, you never see anything happen.
Okay.
So if you gave it like a command to do something in the back end and it ran, you wouldn't see anything. You wouldn't know.
You may not have
Yeah,
worked, you
yeah,
may not-
you don't know if it's running unless you tell it to print something of a response from that action.
Yeah, and that actually brings in a concept called of standard out. So that is, where is the standard place that you're going to print any output? And here it's going to be our console. If you're just running it, it's going to be in whatever shell launches to run it.
Sometimes, you might just, you wouldn't print it to like a file, you would actually write it to the file, but it's the same kind of concept where, you're printing it to a output somewhere, whether it's a screen, file or what.
Yeah, and it's another part that can help with understanding it is if you've used Windows command line before, if you've ever used the greater than symbol to send something to a file, what you're actually doing there is redirecting standard output to a file.
Did you ever get to play with DOS when you were a kid? You did a lot of that stuff in DOS.
Yeah. I mean, what the...
All right, now we'll talk about white space, which we're all well qualified to talk about.
Have you ever read a report or a file and you felt like there was a lot of blank space where it didn't need to be? That is white space.
Yep. So any white space or any space that is white. So a space is white space. Tab is white space. A new line, that's a form of white space. Here you can see use of what is called an escape character. So an escape character is just letting the programming language know that you want to do something special. So in this case, we're using backslash as the escape character. So that is the escape character for Python. And then we're putting a letter after it to tell it what we want to do. So we can do T, and it knows it's tab. If we do N, that's a new line. So it will actually, if we do any printing with that, which I believe I've got some stuff on the next slide, for that, it'll actually, instead of printing out /n when you put /n, it'll print a new line. You can also get rid of the white space using the methods listed there. So you've got right strip, takes the white spaces off the right side. Then it's R strip. L strip is left strip, takes the white space off the left side, and just strip takes the white space off of both the left and the right. It will not do anything that's in the middle.
So it won't touch your code.
Okay.
Yeah, so like if you have, it's just you, Brian, but you put like a new line at the very beginning, if you do strip or left strip, it's going to take that new line out and just print it on the same line.
Okay.
So it basically will just make it look like one long dump file of data.
But you'll keep your spaces in there. And like if you had several new lines, it would only trim off the one that's on the end. Alright, so here's some examples. You can see here we print quote, space, quotes, exclamation point, /n, end quote. And when that prints out, it will print an extra line at the end and a space at the beginning. So if you take that and you strip the right, it strips the new line out. If you strip the left, it strips the space at the beginning out. And if you just use strip, it does both. White space making sense? Both adding and removing it.
Makes sense.
I actually use this in the script that I am writing at work because every time I end a line, even though I'm writing each line individually, if I don't put that new line at the end of it, it writes the next thing to the same line. So you have to actually tell it you want to go to a new line.
This is how you would get new rows on your file.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going to get all your data listed on one single row in Excel or something.
Yeah. And I did that the first time I ran the script while testing it out. So the next thing we're going to practice with here is user input. The method we use for that is just input, and inside of the parentheses, what we're going to put inside of quotes is how we want to prompt the user. So in this example, we have your name equals input. What's your name? Question mark. Now, I like to put spaces after the last character because otherwise when they start typing it's going to be right up against what they're typing. And I think that little bit of white space just makes it easier to read.
No, that's parentheses and curly bracket, right?
That is just parentheses with quotes in there.
The input, parentheses, curly bracket?
No.
Does look like a double print.
No, the curly bracket in the prompt is just to show that that's what you're inputting.
Okay. I was like, it's like, is that how you get the prompt to come up?
So you can see here the first line that we use takes the input. The second line of code is going to output the concatenation of hello and your input. So instead of saying hello world, it'll say hello whatever you entered to be your name. Which is the reason why I call this hello X.
It would work if I did the F string, right?
It would, yes. Yeah, the F string works just as well and works better if you're doing a lot of concatenation. Are you running into errors again?
Yes. I was trying to do that new line thing you're talking about. I don't want to put that at the end here.
It's inside of the quotes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Did I type it wrong?
You maybe used the wrong. Yeah, you use a forward slash instead of backslashes.
Oh, alright.
There you go. There we go. Hello, Andrew.
Yay.
All right. Everybody get that to work?
Yep.
All right. So now this is an example with all of it together. including a little bit of additional code here. So now what we're going to do, the top part there is just a long comment that puts in information about who wrote it. So that is kind of a way to notate what your code is, when it was created, when it was last updated, any changes you've made, to just kind of keep track of that. So here we can input what's your name. We have a name, we're going to put it all to lowercase so we know what case it is. And then here we're using match to do something very similar to if statements. So it is match space your name variable.
Can you see?
Alright, and once we have the match name, we put colon, case, and what we want it to be equal to. In this case, if we get Brian, then we have a colon. These tabs here are also very important in Python. This is how it knows what level of code you're at. So then if we match Brian, then we will print, fuck you, Brian. And then we go back to here, case underscore is default, colon, then we're going to print hello plus your name in title format. So if you put first and last, both of them will be capitalized.
What's up? No, I gave up on that. Thank you,
Hi,
though.
Laura.
No, I figured. That's why I found out the other way.
Hi.
Thank you, though.
Okay. What was I? So we type in your name equals input. What's your name? And you hit enter, and then it asks you what's your name. Is that
Yeah,
what?
and then you put in your name, and that's
Okay.
going to plug it into the variable.
Now this is put in as if it were saved to a file.
Okay.
So hit enter.
It doesn't have to be.
So it's now saved that to your variable.
Match name colon. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you hit tab.
Yeah. Which, depending on your interpreter, it may automatically put the tab in for you.
Then tab again. Print.
Get an exception.
Yes, something. Case Brian. Did I type it?
You don't have a colon.
Oh.
And then in this case, we want to be back here. And this will be back here. And we want a space here. There you go.
Okay. What is that? I can't read unless it's directly below. What's that?
So the indentations just tells it what level of code we're at. So here, we're doing a match. Everything inside of this is part of this match.
Okay.
Case is just saying if what we're matching against is equal to this, colon will do whatever's underneath it. So the tab, and we could run multiple lines of code there. We just happen to have one.
Okay.
So that's how it tells here that we're not wanting to put case at the same level as this one. Is because case is back here in line with this. So that's just how Python delimits what's on different lines.
Makes sense.
SQL will use a semicolon to notate the end of a command. Which is really important to know if you want to do SQL injection.
Like, I can't get my name to save or whatever for that kind of thing.
So
I don't
did
know.
you have the your name input because you're getting that far, so it's asking your name. But did you save that to the name variable? So you should have a name equals to your name dash lower to save the variable.
What? I don't know.
Let's go back to your code. Does it just start over every
I
time?
refreshed it.
Oh,
'cause,
okay.
Yeah, he's also running it in a console or a shell.
So let's have you do your name equals input.
That's what I did.
Yep, and then do the what's your name question.
That's what I did.
Yeah, I know. We're just going through the steps. And then,
Push enter.
and now you're gonna do a name equals.
It's not interpreting that correctly. It is just printing it and not accepting it.
Oh. So it's not.
That is a bug with the console you're using.
Yeah.
Well, it was giving me like a
So-
pop-up before.
What's up?
When I'm going to, like, when it goes to new lines, am I hitting enter or am I hitting tab?
Tab or enter should work. I've been
It's
using tab and
like
it's working.
Here I was just doing tab and it gave me a syntax error.
Yeah, so where are we at? You're in match,
Yeah.
name. Okay, and you put space. So when you go to the next case statement, you'll want to press enter.
So like here I would have wanted to press enter. Match name colon.
Yeah, and then you can type in case.
Okay, because I was hitting tab instead of going to a new line. Okay.
You can write that as single lines, but it's harder to read, and there's
Okay,
different
so
syntax considerations.
when it's on this screen and it's on a new line, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to a new line on here though, right?
I would recommend typing it exactly like that.
What is the characters after case on the second line of case? So you have case. Is that
Case space underscore colon.
like, okay. Colon?
Yeah,
That looks like an underscore.
So what
it's
is it?
underscore then
Name
colon.
equals my name. Is that what I do after?
Case underscore colon.
Okay.
Was that?
For the name thing, I do name equals my name.
Yeah. So after you entered your name, is that what we're talking about?
It's
You can also. I know you're having issues with the input, so you
now
can
it's
just.
giving me a pop-up after I put in input, and then
That's probably it asking you for information, right?
like so.
Yeah, so it's asking you for the input. So this is where you put your name at.
Well, that's what I was trying to do before, and it kept just not doing anything.
I mean,
It won't look like it's doing anything because it's not
It's just,
outputting it.
It's just collecting the
It
information.
just keeps re-popping up the box though.
Oh, here, try it. That's weird.
What do I type?
Your name.
That's what I tried to do before, and it kept just doing that.
Is it just looping the code?
I don't know. No, that's what I did before, and it kept doing. I had to uninstall the.
They uninstalled this?
I had to remove the extension and redo it in there for this box to pop up again. Because if I do, don't check it, because then it'll just keep redoing like what it was doing before. Like that.
Okay, so now let's just print your name.
What?
Print. And then open parentheses, your name, close parentheses, and enter. Cool. So
Oh, I did save it. That's.
some reason it saved it as name equals Eric,
Well,
but
because that's what I typed in initially and hit OK because I thought that's what I needed to type in.
okay. That's fine. It'll still take it and
So it
and
just
run
kept
it.
repopulating that window then instead of.
Yeah, I don't know why.
That's stupid. Program this. This is a piece of shit.
What does this error message mean?
What does the error message say?
I guess assume it's saying it can't pull
Oh.
your name.
You're trying to call a string as if it's a method when you put it in the parentheses.
Should I even, because that dialog box kind of screws up.
Right, so it'll be your
As long as it
name.
saved your name, it should be
I
fine.
know, but I'm
dot
worried
title.
about, like, do I type in all that again?
Okay.
Because I'm just going to repopulate another box.
Oh, so it's
No, you
like
should be able to add
And
in,
then
just
you put
add
in
in
the
what you
open
got
close
here and
parentheses.
run just that.
Do I retype in the
And
the
that
your
should
name
work.
input thing and then
No, everything after the your name you should already have saved. Now you should just do the match name and go from there.
so I type in match name?
Yeah.
Well, because it is, well, he's got in there change it to lower.
Okay, so.
Oh, you can do that. You don't have to do that. That was just so you could make it all lowercase.
So my question
Oh.
is, when I'm like trying to retype these, it seems like the indentation is saved from previous. Like, where on the back?
You're just hitting run, right?
Just name, colon. Yeah, see how far up it is?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to
Saying hello, what's your
go
name?
back and treat it like
Um,
So just what-
Yeah, I would try and match the level that it's on
Yeah.
before.
Does it seem like this is the problem here? I think.
Yeah, so you're a little farther back than you should be for case because you want them to be in the same row column
As for
No,
as
same.
name.
as the other
So
case.
it's just
So you
Oh,
see
you
you have
don't
this
have
case,
input.
make a match.
What?
They're in
You
line.
don't have input.
Okay.
You have to tell it you want to read input. Okay, and then if we run it, save it.
And you gotta have a.
Now it'll
colon
say, what's your name?
between line.
okay.
Type in Brian. And it said, hello Brian, because you put in a capital B there.
Oh, okay.
You want that to be lowercase?
That was-
Because we're making it lowercase, so it matches.
No.
I know we meant to have a bigger screen, but the projector fell through today.
Case underscore.
Oh,
Gosh, it does not like that.
Colon.
we'll get it taken care of. I promised.
This is really long.
Saying this is really long.
Yes. Because I type in match name and then case stuff and then more stuff and then more stuff.
Yeah, I've got like nested down to 5 layers, so it's easy.
Not for me.
It's a matter of training your
I can't. Yeah, it's a long string of things that.
Yeah, I'm definitely fucking up the syntax here.
Yeah.
This part gets easier when you're writing it to a file and
Is
not
that
just writing it to console.
Case underscore.
That is case space underscore colon.
Oh, damn, I missed the space. Okay, I think I got it.
Do I need to be? Wait. 'Cause the way you. How do I type? Because you have it like. You have the match and then colon. Do I need to hit like enter?
Mhm.
Yeah, so you hit enter, and then
Wait.
it
Okay.
should put you indented in. If it doesn't, hit tab so you're indented in.
So match colon enter.
Yeah,
No.
match
give me a
name
syntax
colon
error.
enter,
That's what I did.
and then we've got
And then I get a
Case.
syntax error for match colon enter. Match name
Oh.
colon.
I think is that the output screen? Yeah. I just. Let's see.
it may just be the interpreter too.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I'll
it
do this
doesn't.
eventually.
That is just the interpreter, not interpreting correctly.
Oh, since it's not actually Python, it's
Yeah.
basically a Python emulator.
Kind of, yeah.
Somebody probably wrote it in Python too.
Well, so this is useless. Cool.
Here, you can.
There'll be a computer
Well, we
for you
could,
guys soon.
We can install Linux on that for you.
No,
Actually,
It'll work better than
I'm
Chrome
not-
OS.
I know, but I don't want to have to fucks with it because that's what I'm going to be using for like our D&D stuff.
Yeah, but Linux will work great.
I
We've
just
also
don't
got a
have to
computer
fuck with-
freeing up right over here.
Working, setting up a browser and all that shit on
Well,
Linux.
as he just said, this computer just became free because Andrew
Case
had to go.
space
So,
underscore Chrome.
I'll text you when you don't have to do some later.
Yeah, I'll share them out to you too. 'Cause
If
that
you
is-
want
that
to
was-
join our Discord, we'll track. I'll keep all the updates in the Discord as well, if you're savvy with that. I'll even post this recorded video on there as well, so everybody will have the information available. And then that way you'll also see when we're planning the next session. Which as of right now, I'm planning. I think we'll be able to do 1 month from this month. So I think we're looking at May 14th or 16th. One of those. It's that weekend of that week.
Now, is everybody else good to keep going?
Yeah, I think so. You guys are.
yeah, my
So go ahead,
capacity
start
to
in this
retain this is.
Well, we're reaching the end of the programming part. This was like the big part here, putting it all
This is the
together.
first big part.
Huh?
This is the first big part, which is why I'm asking if you guys are good to keep going. If you're not, then we can stop here and like next month we can pick up from here.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
not
probably
sure
gonna
you
have
should- is it
to.
supposed output something?
Yeah.
When
So
I hit enter?
I got stuck on this one too.
Yes.
It's not working right for me.